Hi friends, welcome back. Today we are going to solve AtCoder beginner context 160 problem, red and green apples. Before we start looking into the problem details, some examples related to the problem and the Java solution for this problem, I want to mention that my channel is dedicated to help people in their Java and coding interviews. On my channel you will find lots of helpful videos that can help your interview preparation and your Java preparation. You will find over 300 different varieties of solved code and questions which are taken from previously asked different interview coding questions by big tech companies like Google, Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Microsoft, Yahoo, and many other big financial companies. So if you are preparing for any Java interviews or coding interviews, this channel can definitely be helpful to you in your job interview preparation. So please subscribe to the channel now. So let's look into the red and green apples problem statement first. Then we'll go through some examples for our better understanding, and then we'll propose the solution and implement the solution in Java. So you are going to eat X red apples and Y green apples. So there are two types of apples, red and green. You have A red apples of deliciousness P1 to PA, B green apples of deliciousness Q1 to QB, and C colorless apples of deliciousness R1 to RC. So there are three types of apples actually we have actually. One is red apples, other is B like is green apples, and other is colorless apples, right? And their deliciousness values are given to us. Before eating a colorless apple, you can paint it red or green and it will count as a red or green apple respectively. From the apples above, you will choose the apples to eat while making the sum of deliciousness of the eaten apples as large as possible. Find the maximum possible sum of deliciousness of eaten apples that can be achieved when optimally coloring 0 or more colorless apples. So our intention or our purpose of this problem is we have to increase the deliciousness value, right? So we have to optimize or maximize deliciousness values of the apples that we are going to eat basically, right? So this is optimization or maximization problem, so it will be clearer from this description. So in the input they have given us x, y, abc. So xy is how many apples like red apple and how many green apple we are going to eat, right? And abc is types of red, green and colorless apples, right? So let's take one example. So let's take the second example on whiteboard so I can explain you better. So this is the second example that they have given us. So here we have, these are like x, this is x and this is y, right? So x means how many red apple we are going to eat, and y means how many green apples we are going to eat. And after that, this 3 is this is like number of red apple, number of green apple and number of colorless apple, right? So this is what they have given us. So if you look at the input here, so this is what it is, right? So xy is number of red apple is x, y means number of green apple, and abc means number of red apples, b is number of green apples, and number of c is number of colorless apples, right? So this is what the input is will look like, and after that they have given us the description of the apples, right? So if you look at this, so this is a red apple, right? So these are the deliciousness values because we have two red apples, right? So one is having 8 as deliciousness value, one is having 6 as deliciousness value. So after red apple, the other apple type they have given us is green apple, right? Green apple. So 9 and 1 are the deliciousness value, and these are colorless apple, right? It doesn't have any color. So 2 and 1 is their deliciousness values, right? And we have to find out. So basically, in total, we are going to eat 4 apples, right? We can eat 2 red apple and 2 green apple, and what the one scenario they have said here is we can choose any of the colorless apple and we can paint it as a red or green, so it will be counted as a green or red apple, right? The way we are going to paint that basically, which means that, so let me just remove this. So which means that if we are like, for example, if we are going to eat this colorless apple, we can paint it as a red, then it will be counted as a red. If we are printing it as a green, then it will be counted as a green, right? It's not necessary that we should pick up, like we should use this colorless apple. If we want to use it and it's going to increase our deliciousness value, then we will use it, right? So deliciousness value we have to optimize or maximize. So that is what the problem is basically. So I'll just write down one more time, so you know, so it will be clear for you. So these are actually the deliciousness value of a red apple, right? So this is the red apple, this is green apple, right? This is green apple, green, and this one is colorless, right? This is colorless, so colorless, so it doesn't have any color. So this is given to us as our input, right? So let's first try to visually solve this problem, and then we will discuss how we can solve this problem using Java, right? So if you look at it, you will clearly see that if let's say we are taking, like, these are the numbers that I wrote, right? So this is the red apple, these are the green apples, and these are the colorless apple, right? So this is given to us. So if we are choosing the total value of this red apple, then we will get 14 here, right? If we are choosing a total value of the green apple, then we will get 9 plus 1, which is 10, right? So now let's say, for example, if you look at this 6, 8 and 9, right? So they are already more than this 1 and 2 values, right? These are colorless apple, right? So there is no point that we will take any colorless apple and use colorless apple instead of this 6, 8, 9 values, right? So let me just mark it. So these values 6, 8 and 9, correct? So these are already more than the colorless apple values, right? 1 and 2. So we don't want to use colorless apple for these apples, right? Because it will not help us increasing the deliciousness value, right? But now if you look at this one, if you look at this one, this apple's deliciousness value is 1, while we have one colorless apple here, and this colorless apple deliciousness value is 2. So rather than eating this apple one, rather than eating this one apple, we should choose this 2 apple, right? And we can just paint it as a green apple, correct? These are green apples, and then we will eat this as a green apple basically, right? So instead of 10, we will get 9 plus 2, correct? 9 plus 2 value, which our deliciousness value is will now increase by 1. So we will get 11 here for green apples and 14 for red apples. So 14 plus 11 is equal to 25, right? Is equal to 25. So this is how the answer is coming here. So this is our optimal deliciousness value, right? So so this is what the problem is basically, right? So I think you got it. So this is how we have to which means that we will only take the colorless apple if it is going to increase our deliciousness value, right? From this example it is clear to you. So let's go ahead and now let's discuss about um, how we are going to solve this problem, right? So what we will do is we will use whenever there are maximization or optimization problems, those kind of problems where we want to maximize, minimize, something like this, you know, one of the main data structure or important data structure you should understand is heap, right? Heap is basically min heap and max heap. There are two types of heap, and heap will always be useful. Why it is useful? Because it will always keep the, for example, in this case, if we use max heap, it will always keep the maximum values on top, right? That is the speciality of a heap data structure, right? And priority queue in Java implements the heap data structure, right? So we are going to solve this problem, we are going to use max heap, right? Max heap, which is priority queue, right? So max heap we will use, right? So this is priority queue in Java, right? Priority queue. So now let's take a look how we will use the max heap to solve this problem. So first we will go through this total red apples, right? So total 8 plus 6, total value we will calculate of red apple, and we will put these values into the priority queue. Let's call it as a red apple priority queue, right? Red apple priority queue. So when you put it in priority queue, 8 will be on top and 6 will be here, right? Always maximum value will be on top. After that we will go through the green apples, right? So total value we will get is 10. So this one is 14, right? So let's just write 14 here. Now we will go through the we will create another priority queue to hold green apples, right? So this is another priority queue to hold the green apples, and the value will be 9 plus 1, which is 10, right? So we'll calculate it and put it into one variable, and you will see that 9 will be on top here, right? 9 will be on top. So after that what we will do is, this is our C array, right? This is the C, which is colorless apples, right? 2 and 1. So this is colorless apple. So we will go through this array one by one, and what we will do is, um, we will, let's say we are first going through this 2 now, right? We will check this with the top elements of the priority queue, right? So top element is 8 and top element here is 9, right? So in this case the values are already more than 2, right, for both red and green apple, right? So we will just take them out of the priority queue. We will remove it from priority queue, correct? So we just will remove this priority queue values, right? So now 8 is gone, for example, and 9 is also gone. Now after that we will go here, and what we will do is, we will check again now these values, right, against the value 2, right? So 2, when we are checking, we find one value which is smaller, right, smaller than the value 2. And when we find a smaller value, we are interested for maximizing our deliciousness value. So it is better that rather than taking this smaller value 1, we should take this bigger value 2, right? Bigger value 2. So in this case what we will do is, we will remove this one from the priority queue, and then instead of that we will choose 2. What it means is, we will, from this 10, this is already the score we know, right? 10 score we know from green. So after that we will subtract 1, because we don't want to use 1, and instead of that we want to use 2. So this is what we will do, right? Which means that it will give us the modified score for green apple. So modified score we will get is 11, right? So 11, and after that we will just have to add this total score, 14 plus 11, correct? 14 plus 11 will give us the answer 25, correct? So this is the 25 answer. So this is the approach using the priority queue that we are going to use. So apart from this one example, there is another big example they have given us here. So in the third example is a little bigger example. So let's take a look at this example as well, and we will run our code through both these examples to make sure both examples work. So this is the third example. Now in this case we are going to eat 2 red apple and 2 green apple, right? So 2 red apple we will eat and 2 green apples we will eat, right? So now there are 4 apples, like 4 red apples, 4 green apples, 4 colorless apples. So this is what their deliciousness value is, right? They have given us these values. So using the same approach, we will like first calculate this total, right? 13 plus 14, which is equal to 27, right? So this is 27 for red, and if you look at this, 23 plus 24 now, right, for the green. So this one is basically 47, right? 47. So now we have the total available. Now we will just check through these values of colorless apple, right? There is no colorless apple which will give us better value, right? Because all these values, as you can see, 13, 14, 23, 24, they are all bigger than all like these values, right? Colorless apple values. So there is no point we will choose any colorless apple in this case, right? So we will not choose any colorless apple. We will just pick up red and green apples from here, and then we will get 7 plus 7, which is 14, and 3 plus 7, which is 3 plus 4 is equal to 7, right? 74. So 74 is the answer we will get here, right? So this is how the approach is using the priority queue and the max heap of Java, right? So let's take a look at the Java code now for this example. So let me just. So first we took all the input parameters x, y, abc, right? So this is all given to us, right? This is what abc, x, y, abc given to us. After that 869121 we will take. As you can see, we have 86 here for red apple, then 91 here for the green apple, and then for the colorless apple we have third array 21, right? So these all the arrays we will take, and what we will do is we will first sort these arrays, right? We are going to sort the array, and we are going to put all the arrays, like all this value, into red apple's priority queue. So we created two priority queue, one is for red apple and one is for green apple. So we will put all these values 86 into priority queue, correct? And we will also calculate the total of red apples, right? Total we will calculate. For example, 8 plus 6 is 14, right? So total red apples value is 14. After that we are going to again do the same thing for green apples, right? So we will sort this array, and again we are going to use another priority queue called as green apples priority queue, right? It's a priority queue of integers. Again we will put all these values 1 and 9 into priority queue for green apples pq, and then we will calculate the total that is coming with this green apples, right? Like for example 9 plus 1 10, so total is coming as 10. So after that we have this array C, right, which is of colorless apples. Again we are going to sort it, and we will check these values. So what we will do here is we are actually checking this value, which is, for example, after sorting we get 1, right? We are checking if there is any value in the priority queue which is smaller than this value, right? Smaller, correct? For example, if you take this 2, so uh, let me just remove all this coloring so I can reuse this space again. Yeah, so now for example we will sort this array, right? So it will become 1 2, right, after sorting. So we will take this value first, and we will check in priority queue, right, if this value is bigger than any of these values, right? So it's not bigger, right? So we will go to the next value. So next value is 2. Now again we will check against these two values, right? These values and these two values we will check. So if this value is bigger than any of this value, yes, this is bigger than this value, right? 1. So we so let's look into the code. In that case we will have to use 2 instead of this 1, right? So let's take a look into the code. So here first thing is once we find out that we are finding some value which is bigger, like where our colorless apple value is bigger than either red or green apple value, right? So in that case we will come into this block of if else, right? Here we will check the top of the priority queue, right? If it is smaller than the like red apple's value, if it is smaller than the green apple value, right, then we have to actually, so for example red apple is smaller than green apple, right? So for example in this case this one is our green apple and this one is our red apple. So in this case the green apple value will be like red apple is smaller than green apple value, right? So in priority queue, let's say 8 and 6 is there, and here we have 9 and 1, right? So uh, so let's go ahead here. So basically what we are trying to do in this if block, if here our control will go into the else block, right? Because our green apple value is bigger than the red apple value, right? So let's just go with this if block one more time. So here we are checking which value is bigger, red or green, in priority queue, right? If green value is bigger, then it means that we wanted to uh, remove the red apple value, right? Total red apple value we have to remove and then add the C apple value instead of red apple, correct? Otherwise we will remove the value from green apple, right? And then we will add a colorless apple value into the total green apples value that we are doing in this case, right? Here these two, we want to replace this one with this 2, right? So in this case we are having 10, so minus 1 we will do here, minus 1, and plus 2 we will do, right? So we are removing the green apple value here and we are adding the colorless apple value here, right? Because priority queue, we don't want to remove anything from red, right? We want to remove from green because green has the smaller value than this 2 value, correct? So we will remove it from the green total and we will add the colorless value here, right? So we will get 11 here, right? Instead of 10. So we are getting an increase of 1 basically. So that instead of using this 1, we are going to use this 2, right? So that is what we are going to be doing here. So in this case, that in this example that we have seen, we will go here and we will see the total green apples value was 10 before. Now we are going to remove the 1 from priority queue. This priority queue will get this one. We are going to remove the 1 from priority queue from total green apples value, right? So 10 minus 1 it will become, and after that means 9, and we are going to add 2 value here, C apple value 2. So total value will become 11, right? Green apples PQ value. So at the end we are just going to add this to total red apple and total green apple value, right? So total red apple value we calculate already 14, and this one is our new green apple value. So 14 plus 11 we will get 25, right? So so that's pretty much the solution is about the. So we are going to use the peak function of the priority queue, and peak function actually does not actually remove the element. You can just check what is the value of the element which is on the top of the priority queue, right? Here this condition is important to understand. Here what we are doing is we are checking if the colorless apple value is bigger than either red or green apple value, right? If it is bigger, then it means that we want to replace it, right? Because we don't want to use the red or green apple value. Whatever value is smaller, we want to replace it with the bigger value of C apple value, correct? So and that's what we will do here in this part. This is for red apple. If red apple value we want to replace, we will do like this. If green apple value we have to replace, we will do like this, right? So this is the approach. In this case the green apple value is smaller, so else condition will execute, right? Else condition will execute. So green apple priority queue value will be smaller than red apple priority queue value, right? So I think that's pretty much it for the Java code for this example. Let's try this another example as well and make sure this works. So 22444. So I'll just update this input. So we want to make sure that our code works for both the test cases. Here it is 11, 12, 13, 14. So the first one is 11, 12, 13 and 14, and this is the red apple values, and the green apple values are 21, 22, 23 and 24, right? And then colorless apple values are 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So all colorless apple values are smaller, as you can see, right? So there is no point that we are going to replace any of our red or green apples with this colorless apple. So let's just go ahead and execute this snippet. Oh, actually I didn't show you the previous example, right? We will execute both, that's fine. We'll just execute this first. So here we are getting correct result 74, right? So 74 is the result here. So now I forgot to show you the first example. So we will just back out our example. So this is our first example, right? So this is our first example. So let's just execute this first example also. So we are getting 25, and 25 is the correct answer, as you can see. So here also 74, so this is correct, and 25 also correct. So we have seen, like, we solved this optimization problems or maximization of red and green apples with the help of priority queue. This is one of the important data structures you should know to solve these kind of problems. This is also called as min heap and max heap. Depending of It depends on you want to use minimization or maximization, and this is typically implemented with the help of priority queue in Java. If you are new to my channel, on my channel you will find lots of helpful videos that can help you in your job and coding interview preparation. You will find over 300 different varieties of coding problems, and those are taken from previously asked coding interview questions by big tech companies like Google, Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Microsoft, Yahoo, as well as a lot of other financial clients. So if you want to practice for your coding interviews, this channel can be definitely helpful. If for Java interviews or telephonic interviews, there is a playlist on my channel called as Java interviews that discusses frequently asked Java telephonic interview questions, and how to answer those questions is also explained there. Apart from that, there are videos related to Java architecture, Java design patterns, as well as programming questions related to strings in Java. Other string related important coding questions are also explained. So you will get like really good preparation for your interviews if you go through those playlists. The playlist names are one is called as AtCoder, other is called as Leetcode and Leetcode solutions, Code Chef, Code Forces. So all those playlists you can go through and go through these solved coding examples for your easier understanding. Those coding videos are like demonstrated with whiteboarding session, so you can easily understand the problem, and the solutions are also discussed, and the solutions Java code is also available into my GitHub account, and the link is given in the descriptions. If you like this video, if you find this content helpful, and if this content help you in understanding this problem better and easier, then please give it a like. Also subscribe to the channel. Your subscription to the channel is really important for the channel, because that is the way the videos can reach to more people who need help in solving coding problems. One of the main goal of the channel is some people find it difficult to solve coding problems. So to help those people by creating these videos and explaining how to approach different coding problems and how to use different data structures of Java, and how to use the Java API libraries to solve different coding problems for their easier understanding, so they can also prepare for their interviews better. So if you like this content, please give it a like. If you have any questions, put your questions below the description section in comments, and also share this video with your friends and colleagues who might benefit by watching these videos if they are preparing for their interviews, or they want to simply learn Java. And thanks for watching this video.